that you are trying to understand the historical importance of this place, Ladakh Baltistan, but also in the process how Ladakh and Baltistan can be used strategically as a launching pad, as a spring ground into Central Asia. That is our historical destiny. The Indian historical destiny is that we reached up to Siberia. I lived in that area. You scratch a little bit on the ground, you find Indian statues everywhere, Indian civilization, culture. So that's our historical destiny, and we must pursue that, whatever means that we use. Ambassador Sajjanar has really highlighted how conflict in Ukraine can impact even in Leh. That's a really my own sense is that many Muslim countries where you have Kashmir cells in their foreign policy ministry will shut down now. Because you look at Kazakhstan, yesterday President Akayev said that the eastern Ukraine, the breakaway republics will not be recognized, and the people who are fleeing from Russia will be allowed to settle in Kazakhstan. I remember 25 years ago when I served in Kazakhstan, they opened a Kashmir cell in their foreign office. I said, look, if you do that, I will study Usk-Kamenogorsk, I will study Kustanov, I will study Palvador. These are, separatist, Russian populated areas. And slowly, I don't know whether Kashmir still exists, but I think they will give it up now. It's a danger to every country. We must believe in the UN system, UN charter we must follow to keep the national territorial integrity of each state. So there is an impact. The second impact is that what Prime Minister has reflected our psyche in Samarkand very recently. He was responding to what happened in Ukraine and the impact that we have. And he was focusing on Central Asia. And the 5 countries have absolutely rejected what Russia has done. Because they suffered. All the areas, the ports, the connectivity lines have been completely closed with sanctions everywhere. You can't import, you can't export oil, you can't export gas. So they are stuck now. They economically suffered. 7.8 million Central Asians worked in Russia. They all came back. The problem is now they are looking for options, and Prime Minister has given them option. Look, if you are looking for option, I'm here, I can give you option. My own guess is that they're looking for 4 options other than Russia. One is perhaps they are looking at Turkey as an option. Second, they could be looking at South Asia, but South Asia is very murky, the Afghanistan, Pakistan and all that thing. India is okay, but then they have to cross through all these territories. So India is one option, but Prime Minister has offered this. And next year we will be the chairperson of SCO. We have all our templates ready now, what we can do. So the third option, fourth option is that they can get together themselves, the 5 countries, and have their own regional security architecture so that it can survive. Otherwise, they are going to have hard time. So for us is that the linkage between Ladakh and Central Asia and China and all that thing is that historically this area used to be called Ratnabhumi in the Indian literature. There was another place called Swarnabhumi. Swarnabhumi was Southeast Asia. Ratnabhumi was Central Asia. According to British travelers, no Ladakhi went to Khotan in the recent times. In the old times, Khotan was a Kustana, it was Gaustan. It's a Sanskrit word, Khotan, where Ashoka's son went there and ruled over there. You have entire 44 Andhrites from Deccan, from Dravidian people, priests manning the entire palaces and temples in Central Asia, in the Turfan desert. Even Nepal today, the priest goes from, I think, from Karnataka or somewhere, or Andhra, to Kathmandu, to Pashupatinath. Yes. So here the tradition was a Dravidian will go to manage the temples in. So these things we have to bring back into our consciousness. Not in reality, but at least in consciousness, we must know what these places are, and from Leh how far these places are, and what we can do. The whole Aksai Chin, the utility was only transportation. But Pandit Nehru never thought about connectivity. Pandit Nehru only said, "Yahan grass पैदा नहीं होता है, कुछ भी नहीं होता है." So that era was different. The connectivity slogan has come in the recent years. So connectivity is very important. If you go to Leh Bazaar, Leh is the perfect example of a silk route. You may just overlook that, but if you go there and imagine yourself, that you are sitting in Leh Lal Chowk and feel that you are at the silk route, you actually feel it. Because much before the British came here, this was a trading port. The Lahoris, the Amritsaris, the Kangra people, or the Jalandharis, Kashmiris, Himachal, everybody used to come. When the British came, they used it for political purpose, for security, strategy and all that thing. Partly because Ladakh route offered, it was very difficult route coming through Zanskar Valley, Manali or whatever, Kishtwar. But the good thing about Ladakh route was that it gave a stable and peaceful route compared to the hostile Pathans or the raiders and the tribes in the POK area. That was not a good option for trading. Trading was here, most of the trading. So the British made it more popular, but British obsession was only with Russia, not with China. That's why they never defined a boundary with China, because they were not interested in boundary. They were interested in trading, they were interested in passes, they were interested in some, they were surveyors, the geologists, geographers or something like that. They were not, so they actually never took, except one fellow called William Moorcroft. William Moorcroft actually, he didn't have a political mandate. He was in charge of stud, a farm in the East India Company in Kolkata. He was a veterinary doctor. His charter was to buy some ponies and horses from Khotan and take it back to Calcutta. But what he did instead, he sat in Leh for about 3 years. He only wrote political dispatches. He didn't write anything about ponies and horses. He only said great game because of Pashmina trading. So the Pashmina wool became the major for East India Company, a big thing, how to balance the power. And he wanted to sign a treaty with the king of Ladakh. That Ladakh was ruled by local king, not Maharaja was not there. He came in 1820. He spent about 2-3 years here. He wrote that famous book, Travel in Hindustan. So that book is, actually I was asking Governor Mathur, have you read William Moorcroft? He said, no, I've not heard about this book. It's a must-read book if you want to understand about Ladakh and its importance. So he wanted to sign a strategic alliance treaty that made the Tsar of Russia to come to Leh. The ambassador of Tsarist Russia came to Leh to sign another agreement with the Ladakhi king. So that was an importance of how Leh was so much importance that big power game here was played because of the trading. So that aspect is very important, and we must pursue. I think we have done a lot. We became vulnerable because our cultural and trading system dried up. The last consulate that we had was in Chini Bagh in Kashgar. And Mr. Ram Sathe was our consulate general. He had to come back in 1955 or 54. He came via Leh and went back to Delhi. Okay, he was the last one. After that, everything was sealed. The boundary was sealed. We couldn't go anywhere. Others couldn't come here. The Silk Route dried up. The Chinese policy is not they threatened us in that way. Chinese concern is that the Indian cultural and trading influence must be completely killed. So by now, in 50-60 years, we have no connection with Lhasa, we have no connection with Kartok or Rudok or in Kashgar, or in Khotan, or even very close, Yarkand. Yarkand is right here next to Nubra Valley. We have no connection now. Those things have to be revived. While the Indian Army is doing a good job, we need a supplement. Supplement is that there's a network of Marwaris that used to be there in Leh. I remember when I was very small, there were a lot of Lalas, from Amritsar, from Jalandhar, from Lahore. And I still remember Lala Shadilal, Lala Madan Lal. All these people were what? They were traders. What you see in Leh Bazaar today are not traders. They are a small businessmen. They don't play any significant role except selling butter or some soap or shampoo to local people. But they don't have a strategic role to play. But the old days when the Marwaris were here, they had a huge network. And Chinese cannot defeat a Marwari, I'm telling you. Whether Tibetan or the Chinese, they can't defeat a Marwari. But the point is that it's not part of our policy thinking. How trading can be a supplement to national security. Partly our own mindset is very fixed, or maybe the Chinese have a policy that we don't think this way. So, how long can we defend if you want to expand into Central Asia, militarization alone cannot solve our problem. We need to loosen something like that. So, other papers were brilliant, but the security point of view, I think Ladakh was always like like an onion. What is the onion characteristic? There is a layer, and if we peel that layer, there's another layer, and another layer. So you find a lot of fascinating things in history about people, culture, and civilization and all that. But since in the last 70 years, we have shaped it properly, it's now time to utilize its essence and the importance. Thank you very much. Thank you.